Hey there. So I'm here today with Jessica, the founder of, oh wait, Jessica. Okay, it froze for a second. I'll start again. Um, hey, I'm here today with Jessica, who founded, oh gosh, I forget the name of your bears, but
I know. So intention Teddy and the company's Mary and Nancy. It's
okay.
a little confusing.
Yeah. I just all I know is that like she found me. I must have done a hashtag or something that got you, and she donated a bunch of these crystal teddy bears that have like a special pocket in the back that little kids can have like crystals on the go in a safe way. So thanks for coming. And we're just talking in real time because I was in a fluster. So we're just we're just gonna get to know each other right here along with everybody else. So thank you for coming here, Jessica.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and excited to
So
get to know you more.
yeah. So what happened? Like, I forget even what tag, like, I don't know what tag it was that, like, maybe you follow, like, was it Crystal Children or something like that?
So I found you, like, I was actually specifically looking for like middle school to high school,
Oh,
just
wow.
because as I've
That's funny.
been as I've been kind of like after I launched, I think with a lot of businesses, you have something in your mind and then you see like, oh, like maybe there's other opportunities here. And I found like there was maybe more opportunity, or I felt more comfortable kind of working with older children versus the age group of like 4 to 10.
Right.
Um, so I was looking for that specifically. And then I saw that you had Spirit Camp, and I was like, no way. Like, this is my dream. This is what I hope that, the future kind of looks like, where there are things like this for kids to be able to go to. It's something that, maybe I wish that I had an awareness of as I was younger, just to kind of tap in and just see, something versus all my sports camps that I went to, that
Yeah.
I was good at sports and whatnot, but I was never like extremely passionate about it. And anyway, I feel like that spirit camp was just so cool. So that's how I found you.
Yeah, I know. And that was like, that was something I thought of not as a camp, but I thought of some kind of, like, I called it Connected Kids like a couple years ago. And I was so excited about it. And so, like just emphatic about it, and like it fell dead in the water, and I was like, oh, like I thought that I'd have like so many people sign up for it, and like my one friend signed her 2 kids up for it, and then I had my 2 kids there, and that was it, and it was kind of like lame, and I was like disappointed. So it was interesting that this time, and that was a few years ago when my kids were like
Hmm.
middle school, elementary school age. So I put it out again this time for teens, because it's like, you always feel like you're the expert of the age that your kids are. So I was like, okay, teen camp. And then a bunch of people were like, how about the tweens? And I was like, oh, like I kind of forgot to consider them because I've moved out of that age range. So
Hmm.
I offered that, and that one had more of a response faster than the teen camp did. But the teen camp ended up having 5 kids come, and it was really, really awesome. And they're so like, excuse me, they're so inclusive and like kind and deep
Hmm.
and mature. So
Love
I was
that.
really like so impressed by them. And like even like some of the girls are going to help me at the store as like intern, like I
Cute.
actually gave a girl a crystal that she was eyeing up in exchange for her filing my my forms. But I look forward to the tweens. That'll be later. And but yeah, so like you reached out to me. I think you called me. Maybe you called me twice. Like the first time you called me, I heard your voicemail, but I didn't get back to you. And then you called me a second time and I answered. And I just liked you off of the energy on the phone. And then I looked at your website, and just the way you spoke on your website, and even like your logo kind of matches mine, with like the crescent moon and the stars and stuff. And I was like, okay, let me just come on my podcast. Like, I think we should talk. So it's just funny how that works, because you're like,
I
you get the
know.
vibe, and you're like,
You're
oh,
like, should you, or do you want to do this? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I've never done this before, but it's just like a conversation.
right.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, we're rolling with it, but this is my first one. So I'm excited to do this. And
And I got the huge box of bears in the mail, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a massive box. I didn't know how big they were. And then like I had a private tween camp, and I gave them this teddy bears. And I think they were almost like we're too big for stuffed animals now. And they were kind of like, oh, thanks. And I was like, you can do whatever you want with it. But the older kids were more excited with it. Like the teenagers
that
were
is
like
so
all about it,
funny.
which is really, you would think kind of like almost like the opposite.
And
but
that's what I've heard, like the squishmallows. I think they're called like squishmallows. I feel like there is kind of a resurgence with like stuffies or bears for the teens. And that's what
yeah.
I was picking up on. I was like, okay, like I love this. Like for, someone that's older and that could actually, I think it would be maybe easier for them to understand how to work with crystals a little bit better than someone's a little younger. And again, I don't know because my son is 1.
Yeah, so
So
I'm
when you were
curious,
talking about, yeah.
yeah, like what got it going for you? Like, because I didn't even like fully read like how it all came for you or whatever, but like my assumption is that when kids are in cribs, it'd be chokeable. And if you want to have the crystal energy for your kid in a safe way, this is a good way to like support them. And I didn't know about crystals when my kids were babies. Like I became aware of it when they were like they were like 3 and 5 and in that age range. So like they were all about it when I got into it, but I wasn't already into it when they were babies in the crib. So,
Hmm.
but it just is like an easy way for them to carry it. So the bear has a zipper in its back, and then you also offer a little crystal bag, so they could stick the crystals in the crystal bag and stick the bag in the back of the bear and zip it up and have their crystals like to go.
Yes.
So, but like, so what got you to think about this idea?
I mean, that was just it. I was like, okay, I would love to have a crystal in the nursery,
Mm-hmm.
but we have cats and I just can't trust that if I have this crystal somewhere that I'm not going to know where it is at all times. Like, where do
Cats
I put
play
it?
soccer. Yeah.
Yeah, like where do I put it that it's not on the floor? And then, of course, they're just like potatoes for the first 3 months. They don't move, but what if it's lost and then years later he's crawling around and all that was kind of going
Right.
through my mind. So I was like, I would love to have it in the nursery, but also just like know that it's in a safe place. So I pictured a teddy bear, was kind of looking online to see if there was anything like that. And then I didn't really find anything and wanted to just create it for myself. Of course, like for myself and my son, initially for the crystal to kind of be in the nursery with him and just like
Mm-hmm.
a rose quartz so that I know that's there. And then the thought was that as he kind of grew up with it, it would be a way that I could work with him and introduce crystals to him when he was able to understand a little bit better when, he's maybe 4 and he can kind of sleep with it. And just kind of pictured a lot of different scenarios that I'm not there yet. So when you were talking about, you kind of focus on the stage that you're in right now, being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I'm just like, okay, can we get some sleep?
Yeah.
Like that's the focus. Can we please all sleep?
Oh, I know.
And
I broke door frames. When my oldest wasn't sleeping well, like I ran across the house to like where it was a converted garage. So the door
uh-huh.
was very heavy because it's like weatherproof kind of a door. And I slammed that door with like all my strength because I was going crazy about the sleep stuff. So I get it. I would knock it would come off the hinges a little bit. My husband would be like nailing it back together. It's like either that or throw the baby. So I have to just slam the door.
Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't easy. I remember
Oh
those
my
days.
gosh. It's wild. Yeah. But we've had like 2 successful nights. And what I say successful nights is like we got up at 5:30 a.m. this morning, and that is a win. I had a melatonin like Listerine patch in my mouth last night, like slept till 5:30 as well. But my bedtime is like 8 p.m.
Oh
So
my God. I know. I would just having a 5 hour stretch was magic. Like
yeah.
that was like the key number. If I could sleep for 5 hours straight, like it was like the difference of like a million. But yeah, and I would go to bed with my kids too. I wasn't until I was like staying at friends' houses or, visiting a family in Germany where I became like hyper conscious and like self-doubting about that. And I'm like, is this bad that I'm doing this? Like, like I wasn't sure if I was being judged for it, like
Hmm.
this is just how I have to operate. I just go to bed when the kids go to bed. That's just how you have to survive.
Yeah.
So it's all good. And it's temporary.
Yes. So true. So
So when did
true.
you get into crystals? Is that like your big, like, what's your spiritual path, like story?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess like I've kind of heard that crystals are the gateway
Mhm.
drug, so to speak. So I would say like my journey with crystals was kind of like the stepping stone into it,
Mhm.
maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
And I remember when I was first given a crystal, um, I was scared of it. I think from
Did
my
you
like
feel its
previous,
energy?
I did, and I put it underneath my bed, and I did notice a difference. I didn't know what I was doing in the
Hmm.
beginning. I
Hmm.
had no idea. I was just given this crystal without any information.
Hmm.
And I was given, I had a reading earlier that day, and then I went to go see her, and she gave me this pouch. But then she also said that I needed to spend $4,000 to create an altar. So that was like
I
my
hate
first
that.
kind of
Yeah.
introduction
Yeah.
to it. And then I'd say like the next step was kind of Reiki.
Hmm.
And then started working with crystals with Reiki. So when I would have Reiki healing, and then started to do research on my own and actually pick up on my own intuition. I think that's been the best. And then I'd say like where I'm at kind of in my spiritual journey now, the past 5 years, compared to maybe the past year has been very different. So say like the past 5 years, it's just information overload. I don't know if a lot of people go through this, but
Yes.
so many books, so many podcasts, just soaking up as much information
Hmm.
and really enjoying it and loving it, but not really putting a lot into my own practice.
Just
But
absorbing
just
information. Yeah. Because
absorbing and hearing and it's so fun and satisfying. And I still do that. Like I love spiritual podcasts. I love reading and whatnot and learning. But I would say like my pregnancy and even like postpartum, I'm calling myself postpartum, even though my son's a year.
yeah, it's still kind of. I remember being like, wait, they're a toddler now. Like when they turn like one, is that considered a toddler or is it 18 months? But to go from baby to toddler is such a mental, like you're like, what?
I know, I know. So I'd say like in the past year, much more spiritual growth and like actually putting into practice,
Hmm.
which has been great. So especially like during my pregnancy, like readings and just like I think being more present and aware
Hmm.
of the signs and just like the amazingness of the messages and trying to work with my guides. And in the past couple months, maybe 6 months, I've started to do classes, and that's been a ton of fun,
Classes on what?
eye-opening. So I do psychic classes and they kind of walk through, like give you exercises. It's like every Wednesday and they go through a different sense each week.
That's awesome.
And some of like the first class, how it ended, I did readings and I never put myself out there
Hmm.
like that. But like it was incredible. You don't I think like I I wanted to do these classes to differentiate the anxiety, the mom anxiety that I have versus what is intuition, what is real, and what is my panic and anxiety and my motherhood journey.
Hmm.
And these classes have really kind of helped with that and to be able to validate what am I hearing and to get validation from someone of no, like you're picking up on this. This is real. Um, that's been amazing. So I've just been continuing those classes. And yeah, that's where I'm
That's
at.
cool. I know. And that's how you do it. You just have to do it in like little pieces and you just pick one focus for like a period of time, whatever that period is. And then
Hmm.
you deep dive and rabbit hole, and then you feel like you have a grasp of it. And then you forget that you never didn't, you know, and then it's on to the next thing and on to the next thing. And I mean, I always had a stack of books next to my bed. My friend who's the business coach of mine, she's like, I remember when we first met, she's like, do you have a stack of books next to your bed? I'm like, oh yeah. And she's like, you're a teacher, Karen. Like that means you're a teacher. Like if you have, like if you're always like learning and you just have so much that you're wanting to share with others and, delve into. I was like, oh, that's cool. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I always had stacks of books and I still do. Like now I'm not reading them as furiously as I did like 10 years ago, but I always have like a rotation of things beside me that I'm delving into.
Hmm.
So, and then it gets more and more strange, as you get into it. And you're like, in the beginning, you're like, I think energy's real. And then like that's like, duh. And then later you're like, oh, dragons and aliens. And you're like,
Yeah.
what the heck? So
That's what I was talking to my husband about this the other day. Just like, like you start with crystals because I
mhm,
feel like it's also so mainstream at this point
mhm.
now.
Yeah.
And then like what's the other side? It's like that people maybe don't pick up on. It's like okay, maybe channeling. Like
Yeah,
that's maybe harder for people to grasp.
right.
Um, but yeah, the journey, I'd say like in the past year, like it has gone from like, okay, like just crystals to like exactly what you said. Like dragon energy. Like, where's my dragon? Let me work with my dragon. I love
Right.
it.
I know, I know. I have my dragon's name is Joyful, Joyful Dragon. But and it's like it's not like I'm that well acquainted, but it's like it kind of comes in and out like at times, and then like I'm protecting my house and protecting my store and like I tune into the energy there and I saw like dragons like flying over the roofs. I'm like, okay, we're good. Like,
Amazing. Do
how
you
do we
know
know? Like, what the heck? It's like so weird, the other dimensions and everything. So
do you know the color of your dragon?
I feel like it's yellow.
Okay, I was gonna say it was one of those things where it's like I know it's yellow, like I see yellow when you said.
That's so funny. Yeah, but it's not like I know its face very well or anything. I just kind of know it's like I sense its presence more than that. But
Huh.
yeah, I know. It's so crazy, right? So I'm like, oh my God, we're saying this stuff out loud. So
Yeah, the spiritual closet, like so to speak. I feel like I was like, this is kind of in my way when I launched my company and
mhm,
sent it to my all my friends and family. I feel like that was kind of my way of just like
coming out. Yeah.
easing out of the closet.
And when was that? When did you open your business or start your business?
So that was February 3rd, 2023. So
Okay, it was this year. Because I'm like, if your child is one, then if this happened during their
mhm.
existence, it wasn't that long ago.
Well, yeah, and I had like I started working on it when I was maybe 6 months pregnant.
Okay.
And I had this grand idea. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have so much time on maternity leave
Yeah, right.
to do this. It's like that is like not
Yeah.
what happened. So but timing is everything and I'm happy with how it landed. I think if I had tried to, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm gonna have stuff ready for the holiday season. Like, nah, like I'm barely ready for this holiday season.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I know. I thought before I had my oldest, she was due in November of 2004, or she was due in October actually. And she came in November. But I was like, oh, I'll just like be home for the first like couple months and then I'll go back and run my business. And like I thought maybe my mother-in-law would help me out more than she was able to. And like once the reality hit, I was like, I think I have to sell my business or not sell it. I basically just gave it to the girl that was like helping me out.
Hmm.
If you want to cover this month's rent, it's yours. So I was like, I'm out. I can't do this. I don't know why I thought I could. Like, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Yeah, no idea. So funny.
So are you working still? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I do have my corporate job still.
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
like, yeah, you're less than passionate position. We do this stuff on the side. Do
Yes.
you feel like you had like gifts that like lit up bigger after your baby was born or while you were pregnant? Did you have any like moments that you're like, holy shit, like I see their consciousness or something like that?
For sure. Like I think like something that like really stands out to me is I had a remote viewing reading on my due date.
Hmm.
And I was extremely anxious at that point in time. And I think when you have anxiety, you don't realize how anxious you were until you don't feel it anymore. But I
Hmm.
had like a sheet over my chest. And I had the remote viewing, and
Was
it
it
was a
you doing the remote viewing or somebody else was reading you?
someone else was
Okay.
reading me,
Okay.
and I'd never done that before. Just kind of sat down, tried to meditate, and that's something that I could never really do
Hmm.
pregnancy before pregnancy was meditate, but just tried to meditate. And I think that was the first time that I actually saw something and could vividly say I saw something with my mind's eye,
Hmm.
and it was a bright blue eye.
Hmm.
And she was like working with, I think, like Krishna, who I think Krishna is blue, so that's kind
Yeah.
of what I associated that with. um but after when my son was born, so I'm mixed race, I have brown eyes. My husband has brown eyes, both my parents have brown eyes. My son has blue eyes. And I know that was him, and that
Yeah.
was that was him with me. So that was, I think, like the most eye-opening. I don't think I'd ever just vividly seen.
Oh, your audio went out.
But yeah, that was
Go ahead.
oh great, your internet connection is unstable. Hopefully I'm all right. But anyway, so that was the first time that I felt like I was able to pick up that sign,
Yeah.
to actually see something. And I've been able to work with that since, afterwards, which has been cool. I feel like that was the first one. So
And do you guys have like a strong energetic connection? Like I had talked about it in other podcasts about my oldest. So my oldest is trans, so I want to say my son, but then it's really my daughter, you know, so I mess it up. But even though I don't really need to mess it up, it's just hard referring to the past.
mhm.
But so when she was a baby, like I was like, this kid is psychic. Like, what the heck? Because like I would like leave the room after she'd be asleep for like a long time. And the second I'd walk through the door, she'd wake up. Like, do you have anything like that where you're like hypersensitive to like your child?
Um, and again, this is why I started taking the classes,
Hmm.
because I feel like it's helping me. I feel like I was maybe given or thought that I was going to come in with all this mom power, energy,
Hmm.
intuition, and it's just going to hit me in the face. And I didn't really connect with that right
Okay.
away, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
kind of freaked me out. So I kind of go to my guides if I'm sensing something,
Hmm.
just to ask or confirm,
Yeah.
or to get signs. So like, I guess like an example, like, he like turned to something in a book that was, I felt like a sign to me. It was like oranges, like to get more orange juice for immunity. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, but it is something like that, but I think it's growing. Like it's
Right.
something that I think like it's definitely growing.
Well, I didn't have the language for it in real time. You know, like it wasn't like I thought about it at the time. It's more in
Hmm.
retrospect where I was like, oh my God, like all of these things. So it might not be because you're in it right now, so you might not see
Yeah.
that it is, but it probably is because that's just
Yeah.
kind of what happens, you know? So yeah, I've got 18 years of looking back at this point. So it's a lot different than like being in it at one, you know, because I didn't have the put those pieces together for many years until later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's just neat because like different people have different experiences where
Yeah.
they know they're gonna have a daughter, you know, or whatever. Like I didn't have that. I didn't know that
Okay.
the kids are
I
gonna
mean,
be born on these days or these, you know, like I didn't have that kind of premonitions and stuff like that.
mhm.
Just more like that connection was built.
I would have dreams with him. So I
Okay.
think that's where it's like I'm almost jealous that like I got those kind of pieces
Yeah.
during pregnancy, and
Right.
I'm sure like you said, like I am getting it now, but I asked him for his name. So I had a dream, where we had a couple names that we were thinking about, and I gave him one, he's like no, and then I gave him his name, which is Maxwell,
Hmm.
but I had said Max, and he said, is there something longer, like, or more formal? And I said Maxwell, and he gave me a smirk, and his name is Maxwell. So I do feel like that was communication. And I think in one of those dreams or a similar dream, it was so funny. Like he was like, you need to chill. Like he was telling me like I need to chill out,
Yeah.
and calm my anxiety. You don't have to be perfect,
Right.
was a message that he gave me. And what was the other one? Oh, I can't remember it. It will come back to me, I'm sure, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just TMI. But
Yeah. 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 I mean, and maybe you've had lifetimes before with him too, that maybe it will be revealed over time and stuff like that. I
mhm,
actually don't know about my lifetimes with my kids as much as I know my lifetimes with my husband. Like I've got a
interesting.
lot more about that, but I haven't really dove in and asked about my relationship with my kids in the past. You know, like it's funny. Like I know what they were because I've been privy to their past lives, but
Okay.
it was a joined lifetime. Like I think I think there was a Native American lifetime with me and my son Andrew. But me and Grace, I'm sure we must have, but I don't actually have any to call on. But you know, I guess I was so more fixated on my husband, or those stories kept coming up to me more pronounced than
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
kids. And my kids probably have been rolling together too. You know, it's like it's so interesting, all of
It
the
is.
dynamics and stuff like that. But there's again, that's like another whole rabbit hole, another, you know, chunk of time. You do past life things with those intentions to like have a like what lifetime did I have with this person? You know, I know I have like
Hmm.
my sister and with my best friend, you know. So, but the kid ones I don't know as well. So when your son is older and he starts communicating, they say what to do is to or it to get access to their memories when they're like in the back seat in the car, because that
Uh-huh.
it produces that kind of like theta wave because they're just relaxing and zoning out. You'd be like, do you remember when you were big? And you just like say that to them, and then they'll just start telling you stuff. Or you could ask them some kind of question that would trigger something. But like it's something about that car ride energy, or the before going to sleep at night, where they kind of pull things out. So
Amazing.
definitely take advantage of
I'm
that.
gonna need to pick your brain on other things like that because the internet doesn't have it. Like this was kind of I was in search of like, okay, like how can I instill like some things or like, help
Support people
him with
coping.
his
Yeah.
spiritual gifts if that's what he wants to do or to help him remember.
Hmm.
Um, because you everyone goes on their own path, so I don't want to,
But you don't want to
but
like shut it down. Like you want to keep it open. And that's what that
yes.
caused a lot of big rifts in our marriage, because my husband was like, it's all nonsense. You're filling their heads with nonsense. And I'm like, but I'm not,
Hmm.
and he was frustrated because he was at work so much of the day and I was at home filling their heads with nonsense. But I was just trying to keep them open,
Yeah.
and I didn't want them to be scared of things, and I wanted them to like, I don't know, just be empowered by it.
Hmm.
So
That's
I
my hope too.
Yeah, there's a book, there's two books I think written by this author. Her name is Carol Bowman. She was even
Okay.
for like in the 90s, but it's like
Okay.
BWMAN. And so I think it's just like children's past lives. It's not like a complicated title, but she had her own experience with her child, who was a red-headed, like freckle-faced little boy, and something with the fireworks one year set him off, and he was recalling a lifetime of Civil War, and he was like a black man fighting in the Civil War and had like canon memories, like memories of like whatever it was. So it was really interesting that she kind of was like, he was like running away with his hands over his ears, like freaking out, and then all of a sudden recalled all these details, and she was like, whoa, this kid is too young to have known that much detail about the Civil War.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what spurred her, and she kept trying to look for other people, like you trying to find other people who made what you made. Like there's got to be somebody else who made a crystal bear thing. And then so she's like, there's got to be someone who's done research on children in past lives, and she didn't get that far, and she's like, I think it's
Mm.
me. So then that became her area of focus. So
Love
it's just
that.
so interesting. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is so interesting. I feel like past lives are like the key to like saving us. If like, like you said, a redhead child can remember being a black man, like how incredible is that?
You know,
I've heard that like I was a white man. I was like, that makes sense. Like,
it's so funny. I know. And then when you like, if you get like that insight to that lifetime, you're like, that sounds like me, like it'll be like, that feels right.
yeah.
It's so fun. But yeah, so how did you come across the name of your business? Like, is that named after some people in your lives? I'm assuming.
It is. Yeah, great question. So Mary is my mom's mom who
Mhm.
passed away that I never got to meet, and Nancy is my dad's mom.
Oh, that's nice.
So my two angels, my
Yeah.
grandmas.
Yeah, yeah. That's a nice way to honor them. And then you built out the website and all that stuff, like while you were pregnant.
Yes. Well, I mean, I didn't, but project management is my forte sometimes. So so I did find someone, they did a great job.
Hmm.
Um and then I worked with a company out of Beverly Hills to get the teddy manufactured. I did the design kind of on my own, and I think the longest part of the process was just getting the prototypes and getting everything kind of ready for production. But yeah, that's kind of, I mean, the Teddy is kind of, this is one, like this is, I feel like it's also just kind of a testament of like where I'm at in my journey. I would love to create more, but at this point in time I'm just focusing on the Teddy.
Yeah.
But the hopes are, Mary and Nancy as a whole. I would love to create, more tools and have more resources for kids, for parents, to work with your kids, to introduce a spiritual practice and to help them grow.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then one of the girls came back last week from the teenage class, and she's like, someone in her family really loved it. And I was like, okay, well, I have any extras at the end, or could contact you, directly. So I hope that it's a continued success for you, and people find you and are excited about your product. Do you know how far it's reached so far? Or not that I even care about numbers, but like, do you know, like people have been getting it, like word's been spreading and stuff?
think so. I gotta say, social media is hard. It's not my forte. So I
Yeah.
really have enjoyed working with shops. So I work with a lot of shops that I'm local with. So
Hmm.
I'm out of Alexandria, Virginia. I was actually just in 13 Magical Moons, which is in the Aquaquan, and they're ready to re-up their Teddies. And they said they're getting really good feedback. And then in terms of where did I ship one out? I shipped one out to Houston yesterday, and I'm always surprised. I'm like, okay, I wonder how they found me
Yeah.
when I ship out a bear, just because I am putting more focus kind of in the wholesale right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have like a nonprofit that I'm working with out of Delaware, and they help. It's called like Alternative Health Practices for Teens,
Mhm.
and they did a crystal workshop for them. So I'm trying to continue to find organizations like that. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm
just kind
glad
of
you
step
found
by
me.
step,
Yeah.
going with the flow. I'm not trying to, hurt myself in this, because I do want it to be something that is sustainable and consistent for me. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you found me, and it was nice talking to you and stuff.
I know you too. I'll have to get up to Jersey so I can book a session with you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do distance healings too, but yeah,
Okay.
compares to being on the table. But yeah, for sure, I could do distance healing, and like maybe you should learn Reiki. Like find a teacher close by. I mean, I could teach it remotely, but but you could always that just even if you don't care about practicing Reiki, it's just a good
Mm-hmm.
way to like support you on your journey of like
Mm-hmm.
being connected to those like subtle senses and the subtle energies and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
like I think it's like a good tool for anyone on a spiritual path, even if you don't care to be a practitioner. So
I agree. And you don't have to add this part. This is, I don't know, either personal, you can share this or not, but I did
yeah.
have a dream 2 months ago that I feel like I was shown how to heal like with Mother Nature.
Well,
I
that's
and I
awesome.
can't like really put it together, but someone told me to pay attention to my dreams if I see light coming out of my hands.
Oh, that's cool.
So I feel like that could be the next step. So I may, pick your brain a little bit more if you know anyone in this area or have suggestions.
Yeah, there's a lady in North Carolina. I don't know, they don't teach Reiki, but they're a crystal school. I had her on my
Okay.
list. Sarah Thomas Upper Clarity School, but that might be too far of a trip. But that's just a cool resource anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, really what Reiki is just channeling love, God, energy with lots of focus and intention. So you don't having the attunement is special and is
Hmm.
significant, but you could also channel energy by just doing it. You just picture the energy coming through the crown of your head, and like, we have like this hollow kind of conduit that runs through our bodies.
Okay.
So picture that energy coming through your head, the top of your head, and then like out your
Uh-huh.
hands and your eyes, or any
Okay.
part of you, your whole body. So it's just like all your pores, but like, focused energy. And that way it's not coming from you, it's coming through you. That's like the difference.
Okay.
So you're not depleting your own energy, you're just like calling on that like God, goddess, universe, source energy
Hmm.
to be, you're just the empty vessel to deliver it. So anything with intention is real. So if you just put your hands on somebody and just decide to kind of palpate with energy, you'll feel it. Like if you
Hmm.
could feel the pulsating of the crystal, so you feel like their energy in your hands, you can feel, yeah, you can feel energy. You can play with your, hands like close together, further apart, and you feel like a little bubble of energy between your hands. Then you put your hands on whatever body part and just like call on that light to come out your hands, and you'll feel heat, and you might feel
Wow.
like tingling. And
Okay.
sometimes you could feel more when you're outside the body than when you're on the body. So it just depends on your own sensitivity. And it's just a fun exercise to play with. Some people question themselves more when they're in contact because there's more mental disputing. Is this me? Is this me? Is this their heart? Is this their
Yeah.
breathing? Is this the air conditioner blowing? But if you're off the body and you still feel things, you're feeling them. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of cool, like exercise games to play.
Okay. What
Um,
do you what do you mean off the body?
like because Reiki can be on the body, like hands on, like,
Yes.
and then hands off would just be in the field, in the end.
Okay. Got it.
So,
Okay.
you just play around, whatever you feel like whatever is stronger for you, go with it. You don't have like
Okay.
one's not right or wrong. So, and I do a combination of both, but it's cool when you start to feel things. You'd be like, oh, there's like more tingling or more heat in this part, and it feels colder, or like it gets sucked in or gets pushed out. All those things can happen, but you don't know until you start playing. So you just play, and you could do that with your son when he's asleep, you know, kind of like feel where you can start to feel his energy, like as you go from like 3 feet up to closer to closer to closer, it feels denser and tingly the closer you get usually. So yeah, it's just fun. Just gotta keep playing. And I'm happy to talk to you.
Yes, well, thank you.
Yeah, sure. And thanks again for the bears, and all of the students are happy. And I'm so sorry I didn't take pictures of it but I have one more class, so hopefully then it'll be in my head to actually take a picture and then I can tag you. So
You're fine. Honestly, no pressure. I'm just glad that you guys have them.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. And and
Thank
if people
you.
wanted to find you, how would they find you? Like on Instagram, what's your handle and stuff?
Yeah. So all socials are Intention Teddy. So the Intention Teddy.
The
Instagram,
Okay.
TikTok, and I will try to get out there more. It's hard
Yeah.
putting your face out
I
there
know it's a pain,
sometimes.
but
Like,
and what's the website? intentionteddy.com or the intention?
The website is marynancy.com.
Okay, see.
And if you just Google Intention Teddy or Mary Nancy, it should pop up. You'll see the big bear.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for talking to us.
Yes, thanks, Karen.
Later. Sure.
Have